AITAH for cutting my dad off if he misses my graduation. So I'm 18M and I have a half-brother who is the same age as me. We'll call him Cameron. Our dad got 2 women pregnant around the same time. I'm older by 6 months. My dad chose Cameron's mom over mine and they're married now. Cameron is his parents' only child. Anyway, so I've always felt like I was just a backup son for my dad. I know he does love me, but not as much as Cameron. I live an hour and a half away from him, but he would always make the drive to come see me when I was younger and still does to this day. If I ever need anything, he'll make sure I get it. He took me on trips all the time with just me and him, but still I felt like an outsider. He would constantly put me second to Cameron. If we both had sports games on the same day, he would always go to Cameron's with his wife. Once when I had an award ceremony, he couldn't come because Cameron was sick. It was just a cold BTW. When I wanted him to teach me how to drive, he said he couldn't because he promised Cameron he would teach him first, but that he'd help me after Cameron got his license. I could list off a bunch of other examples. My dad would show up to my stuff, but if Cameron had something going on at the same time, he wouldn't come. Cameron and I aren't friends. We get along fine if we're together, but neither of us is going out of the way to talk to the other. I think he's spoiled and obviously our dad's favorite. Our dad and his mom did him no favors because his grades are bad and his life has no direction. He didn't apply to any colleges, and he won't even get a part-time job. We're both graduating high school this year. His school district released their graduation schedule after mine, and of course our graduations are on the same day at the same time. We live an hour and a half apart, so obviously our dad can't make it to both. He's known my graduation date for weeks before Cameron learned his. We already had plans for him to come and spend the day here, but I knew as soon as I saw that schedule he was gonna flake. At first he said he wasn't sure what he was gonna do. He's been avoiding the topic for weeks, but our graduations are on the 29th, so he has to decide now. Well, yesterday he took me to dinner. He told me that he was going to go to Cameron's graduation. He said it was because Cameron's grandparents weren't going to be able to make it and Cameron would only have his mom while I have my mom, stepdad, siblings, and grandparents all coming to mine. I'm not an idiot. It was just an excuse that I knew would be coming. He tried to soften the blow by promising me he'd make up for it by taking me on a graduation trip anywhere I wanted to go, even though he had already promised me that months ago. He's taking his wife and Cameron on a family trip to Hawaii in June. It's supposed to be Cameron's graduation trip, but he promised he and I would have our own trip. Now, all of a sudden, that trip is supposed to also be a makeup for missing my graduation. So I told him, okay, I want to go to this one weekend event that is on the same week he's going to Hawaii. He told me he can't because that's when they're going to Hawaii. I didn't actually want to go to this event. I was just proving a point. I told him to postpone his Hawaii trip so he can take me to the event. He said he can't because everything is already paid for and non-refundable. I told him that he's missing my high school graduation. The least he can do is make me the priority when it comes to the graduation trips. He said I'd have to pick a different weekend. I told him he doesn't actually care about making it up to me. He's only okay with what I want so long as it doesn't interfere with his real family. He denied it and told me to try to understand the position he's in. I told him straight up that he always chooses Cameron over me. For once, I want to be the first choice. So I said I'll have a ticket ready for him, but that if he doesn't come, I'll know where I stand in his life. I don't care about a makeup trip. Either he shows up and we still have a relationship, or I'm just done with him. He told me that I was being unreasonable, and maybe I am, but I'm still standing my ground. I already know he's not going to come, even after my ultimatum. So am I the asshole for throwing away our entire relationship over this? Now to the second story of the day. AITAH for refusing to give my parents money? Hi Reddit. I, 24F, need some advice. I recently came into a significant amount of money from an inheritance left by my late grandmother. My relationship with my parents, 50s, has always been rocky, but things got even more complicated when we all found out about the inheritance together. We were sitting down with the family lawyer, who explained the details of the inheritance. When the lawyer revealed the amount and the specifics, we were all in shock. My grandmother had left everything to me: her house, her cars, and a substantial amount of money. My parents were completely left out of the will. Their initial reaction quickly turned to fury. They immediately started claiming that they were entitled to the money because it was their mother who had left it. They demanded that I give them a significant portion to cover their debts and even pay for a lavish vacation they had always dreamed of. For me, this inheritance was a chance to secure my future. I planned to invest a good portion of it to generate passive income, buy my first home, and pay off my student loans. I also wanted to set aside some money for emergencies and perhaps take a modest vacation to relax and recharge. These were all things I had been working towards, and the inheritance was a way to achieve these goals faster. But my parents had other ideas. They wanted money to buy a new car, go on a cruise, and even upgrade their home with luxury renovations. When I pointed out that these were not necessities and that I needed to use the money responsibly, they accused me of being ungrateful and selfish. I didn't want to give in to their demands. I worked hard to build a stable financial future for myself, and I didn't think it was fair for them to expect me to bail them out. When I finally told them no, they were furious. They accused me of being ungrateful and selfish, and our arguments became a daily occurrence. My mom would call me crying, saying I was tearing the family apart, while my dad would give me the silent treatment, making me feel guilty and isolated. Then, things took an even darker turn. My parents threatened to sue me, claiming they had a right to the money because they had sacrificed so much to raise me. I was in shock. The idea of my own parents taking legal action against me was something I never imagined. Now, I'm in the process of seeking legal advice to understand my rights and protect myself. It's a stressful and confusing time, and I feel like I'm stuck in a nightmare. I'm doing my best to stay strong, but it's hard not to feel like I'm the bad guy in this situation. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to give my parents money?